Hey everyone, here we are at the 6.4 video talking about absolute value. Alright, absolute value is super easy. It is simply the distance between a number and 0 on the number line. So the absolute value of 5 is the distance between 5 and 0. Big thing to remember, absolute value is always positive, and we see it written like this. This would be asking what's the absolute value of a, what's the absolute value of 3, what's the absolute value of negative 12, etc. Alright, so what is the absolute, not value of 3? Okay, so first thing we need to do is find 3. So if that's 0 and that's 5, that's probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so that's 3, right? Okay, so there's our 3. What is this distance from 0? Well, if I start at 3 and go to 0, it's 1, 2, and 3. You might be thinking, duh. And to that I will say, yes, that is really what absolute value is. But again, keep in mind it's always positive. Even though we started at 3 and moved backwards, the absolute value of 3 is 3. And it would probably be written like this. Sometimes it'll say that equals and then like blank. So that is saying, what is the absolute value of 3? It's 3. So what if I showed you that? Well, again, what is that saying? What is the absolute value of negative 7, otherwise known as how far is 7 from 0, negative 7 from 0 on a number line? So if that's 0, then that'd be negative 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 5, 6, 7. Okay, so that's where our negative 7 is. And how far is that from 0? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's negative 7, right? Because it's negative. No. Remember, absolute value is always positive. So what is the absolute value of negative 7? Positive 7. So that's probably leading you to go, wait, what's the absolute value of negative 3.49? Yeah, it's positive 3.49. There's no trick. It's just always positive, and it's always whatever that is inside the absolute value. Alright, so why don't you try this? I want you to compare these two and put a inequality, a greater than or less than symbol inside that circle. When you're done, play the video and see how you did. Okay, so it's asking compare the absolute value of 9 with the absolute value of negative 13. What's the absolute value of 9? It's 9. What's the absolute value of negative 13? Positive 13. So which one's bigger? That one is. But on first glance, you might be saying, wait, that's a negative number and that's a positive number, so there's no way that can be bigger. But again, it's not asking you to compare 9 and negative 13. If it did, it would say compare 9 and negative 13. But it didn't say that. Compare the absolute value of 9, absolute value of negative 13. Alright, so here's another one I want you to pause the video for. I want you to order these from greatest to least, greatest to least. Play the video when you're done, see how you do. So for me, the easiest thing is, if I'm seeing this problem in my homework, I'm obviously writing this whole thing out, right, in pencil, and then I'm going to change any of the absolute values to positive. Okay, so what's the absolute value of negative 2.5? Again, it's always positive, and it's just the value, 2.5. Then we have the 3. What's the absolute value of negative 4? It's 4. Then we have the 10. And what's the absolute value of negative 1? Positive 1. And so now I can order them really easily, okay? Alright, so again, we're ordering these from greatest to least. And so what's the biggest one? We got 10. I used him. And then next would be the 4. And then we'd have the 3. Then we'd have the 2.5. And lastly, we'd have the 1. And you're done. Alright guys, last one I'm going to leave you with is this. The absolute value of a number is greater than that number. What I want you to do, obviously write down your notes and then select your answer and bring it to class, and that's what we're going to talk about. So thank you for sticking with this super short video, guys. Appreciate it, and I will see you in class.